Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is a big one. There's actually two parts to this video. I'm gonna look at both of the types of navigation that Oxygen has built in. So there's a normal menu and there's a pro menu. And we're gonna look at both of these, and we're really gonna look at the pro menu in detail, but we're gonna actually build the menu in both the pro menu and the normal menu, just so you learn how these work and where they're appropriate. It means this is really long, but the first one where we're going to look at the normal menu, you don't need to follow along here. You can just watch. So sit back and watch that. And then when we get stuck in with the pro menu, it's time to pull out your tools and start following along, because we're going to use that one. All right, no more talk. Let's get stuck into it. You ready? So here we are in our Oxygen templates. And as you would expect, we're going to be editing the navigation template. So there's no need to go to the edit. All you can do is roll over navigation and go straight to edit with Oxygen. Wait for that to load. And now we have Oxygen loading, and you'll notice straight away that it's really hard to see what's going on. You'll notice that all of this stuff has disappeared. I'm going to open the structure panel open here. And you can see we've got our navigation header builder. And the reason why we can't see anything here is because it is set to overlay. We've set this so that the navigation is overlaying over the hero image. So what that does is it makes the color behind this actually see-through. It pulls out all of the background images or background colors, and it places that so it's positioned in a way that we see through to the whatever's behind it. So if it's your hero image, for example. Now that's great. It's a lovely effect, but we can't see what's going on to edit this. So the easiest way to change this is to temporarily go to overlay. So click overlay, and we'll change this header overlay from always to never. And there we go. We can see what's going on. Now we will need to remember to change this back to always, but it will be pretty obvious when we start looking at the page, because these colors will be showing up over the top of our hero image. So that'll be pretty annoying, and you'll remember by looking at it. All right, let's have a quick look what we have in our structures panel. Now we've got these two rows. One is just doing this dark color with our phone number, and the other one has all of our other stuff like our logo in it, our request for quote, our social icons, and a placeholder here, which isn't our real navigation. It's just a link that we want to change. So we can actually get rid of that now, and we're going to delete this. So now that that's gone, we can look at adding in a navigation. So let's do that now. We click add, and we go down to WordPress. You can see that there's actually two menus. There's a normal menu and a pro menu. And I'm going to put them both in here just so we can have a bit of a quick look between the different. So let's do the normal menu first. I'm going to put that one in there, and I'm going to click save. And what I'll do is actually open up our homepage. And that should already be picking up this template with the navigation already in there, which it is. Great. Now, one thing we want to make sure is that that's put it into the right place, which it hasn't. Let's put it in with the image. So if we drag that down into the right-hand column and click save, it should be aligned a little bit better. So we can see, yes, that's actually working. It's showing up. That's fine. We can change the colors under here, for example. So if we select the menu, it's giving us a few options here, like the type of text that it is, stuff we want around the spacing, stuff around the hover colors, for example. So maybe we want the hover background to be darker. So when we roll over here, it's got stuff like our drop downs, what we want our hover colors to be, our background color for our drop downs, what we want the hover colors to be. So we can set this stuff up pretty quickly. So we can see this now working like this. And the main thing here as well is it's got a mobile responsive mode, and it's giving us a way that we can style this. So we've got our icon styles, our menu styles, and how we want the drop downs to be. So really these are all in here. For example, our icon size. But the best way to do this is to actually preview it in a mobile, and we can see what's going on here. So for example, you can see that icon size here. If we go into icon size, It's 40 pixels. That's really large. We can see the color's not very good. So you can change some of the settings here and get this set up. So I'm not going to do too much on this. I just want to show you this working here on the front end and what actually happens when we sort of scale this down. So if we have a look at this and we go into the menu mode, you can see this is really our options with the sort of standard non-pro menu here. So that works. It does everything that it needs to. There's an overlay, great. But it doesn't really give us the options to open up stuff like our drop down. So you can see here, all we've really got is to include the links in the responsive menu. So if I click save and I refresh, what we're going to get here is when we open this up, all of our menu items are showed. So on our mobile version, all we're getting is a list of all of the pages that we've added there, which, look, it doesn't look very great. So this is where the Pro menu is a better option. So now let's delete this one and we'll put in this Pro menu. So go to Add, go down to WordPress and put in the Pro menu. Now it's done the same thing. I'm going to drag this from the left row and put it into the right row. Click Save. And I'm going to go here and refresh and you'll be able to see some of the differences already. So you can see we've got a nice animation for our drop-down menus, for our sub-menus. We'll have a quick look at what happens in our mobile mode. Have I set it to go to mobile? I haven't. Let's quickly set a mobile size. So select the menu and we'll go to have a set a setting here. So toggle to mobile menu at say 992. And you can actually set this to be mobile as always, which could be a nice effect if you really want that simple navigation or a hamburger for your menu, for example. But I'm going to go to say 992 just for testing this out. I'll refresh this. And you can see now it's gone to the mobile menu. And you can see that what it's doing now is it's giving us these options to open up and get to our sub menus. Now the styling isn't great, and we're going to fix up the styling, but you can see that what it's allowing, the Pro menu is allowing us to do is get to these sub menu items. So we can get to website packages, for example, and jump around and get to all these sub pages without it looking horrible. It's not a bad effect apart from the styling. So let's go out of here and we'll look at some of those styling options that we have. Okay, now the first thing we probably want to do is look at the basic sort of styling for the buttons itself. Everything's really, really tight. Everything's jammed together. So this is in that desktop option. And look, there are presets that are already set up. So there's things like your desktop and mobile that have pre-designed or predefined designs. So if these are options you want to look at, go ahead and use these. But that's not what we're going to do. So we're going to actually go to your basic bog standard and not have any preset. So let's undo these and go back to the standard menu that we have. And let's look at some of these options. So the first thing we've got here is menu, and this happens for both the normal menu and the Pro. As I showed in the intro, we can create more than one navigation or one menu in Oxygen. So you can select the specific menu that you want. Now by default, if you don't have a menu, it's going to put in fake buttons. If you do have a menu, it's going to grab the menu that the first menu that you've created. But if you want to specify, you'll need to actually select the real menu that you want. So we're going to select main menu here. Again, this is where it toggles between the mobile menu and the desktop menu. And now these are your styling options. So let's go into desktop menu and we can look at some of these things. Now the typography is fine. I think the typography is probably a little bit too large. So let's go to this. That text is a little too large for me. So I'm going to bump that down a little bit, and I notice that it's all caps and it's white. So let's change some of those things here. We want to make sure this is uppercase. We want to make sure that the color is white. The font family is fine. I believe that that's Poppins. And we just want to make that a little bit smaller. So maybe 14 pixels. Let's have a look. That looks fine. The font weight, 400, I'm happy with that. Now we go out of this and we can do stuff like size, spacing, and align. So it's left aligned and that's totally fine. We want some padding on this. So let's put some padding of say 20 pixels on all. That may be a little bit too much. I'm going to bring this one into say 15 and 15. And we'll click save. And that's looking a lot better. If we go to the front end and I refresh this, you can see that size and spacing is looking pretty good there. And actually maybe that could go up. No, I'm happy with that size. Now there are a few other things that we want to change here. So for example, we'll go out of this and into our hover. So our hover, we may want to change the background color, for example. I think going to a dark color would be nice. And I think you can put borders on the top and the bottom, but I don't think we need an actual border. But one thing we will want is an active color. So I think an active color as our background would be good. And so I'm going to grab the lighter color, our lighter brand background. And I might actually just dial this down a little bit. So it's not hugely obvious that it's selected, but we can still see that we've got a page specifically selected. So if I click save now, and again I refresh, you should be able to see when we're on a page, what page we are on. So that's highlighting the active page of about and home. So that's working fine. The next thing we want to do is look at some of this stuff like this drop down icon and our drop downs. So we'll go out of here and go down to desktop drop downs. So what we've got here is stuff like our animation duration. So you'll notice that at the moment it's 0.4 seconds and that it fades up. You can change this and you can actually remove that animation or remove the actual, so you can change this to none, or you can remove drop downs altogether. So if you don't want people to be able to get to the sub menu, I'm not sure why you would do that, but it's by default enabled. So there's a few things we will want to do. I personally don't like the drop down icons. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to untick this and you'll see that that icon totally disappears. And then it's just up to the user when they're interested in something like services. They roll over this and they will see these sub menus. So I'll go back to this and go down to the drop down colors. So at the moment there's not really a color on there. We want a background color of say the mid blue. And again, I'm going to change this so on the rollover it goes to the dark. And maybe on the hover we change it to the green text. So let's click save. Have a quick look on the front end what's going on. Now that's looking pretty good here. I'm pretty happy with that. And so our basic desktop menu is working fine. Now we've probably got a few issues when we go down to the mobile menu. So let's try and resolve these quickly. We'll go into here and I'm going to put this into the mobile mode so we can start to have a look where this stuff starts to fall apart. Now already we can see a few things going on here. Now I don't think we need the social icons here. I'm going to get rid of these at this size. So what I'm going to do is select these social icons, and in this situation what I'm going to do is set them to display as none. So under advanced I can go to our layout and I can have them as display and none, and the icons have disappeared, and that's looking a lot better. Now also what I want to do here is go down to the next size, and you'll see that when we go into this mobile mode that our mobile menu is not looking very good. So let's select that mobile menu again and we can do a few things to our mobile menu. So go into here and again we've got a few options. So something like our open icon typography. We've got our open icon layout icon. So I am going to pick linear icons And I'm going to search for the right icon. I'll scroll down and I'll find it. Here we go. A typical hamburger. And we've got here our icon text. I don't want any text there at all. I'm going to remove the word menu. Now I need to change the icon color. I think I want to change this to white. It's nice and obvious. I think the size is fine. I think something like 36. Nope, 30 is good. There's a little bit of padding on there, which works quite well. And we can click save. And we can open this and already see what's going on now. I'm happy with the mobile menu now. We've got a few things as well to change, like our close icon. So we can go to, I'll try and find that. This one is for our close. I have that as a cross. And if I click the navigation here and open it up, you can see here in our menu styles, what we're going to want to do is change a few things like our background color. So at the moment it's showing up as white. So I change this to dark. You can already start to see the text. Now you can do whatever you want here. You can change the text, for example, or you can do it so that you're seeing the actual background. And you can also change this so it's a little bit see-through if you wanted to, so you could see the actual stuff, the page underneath it. So if I click this and say save, refresh this and bring it in, you'll see the effect where you can see through to the page a little bit. Now that's what's going on. I'm going to leave that there so we can see, and you can still get an idea of the hover. Just a little bit. It's not a huge amount, but there's enough in there. Now, if you wanted to keep the background white rather than changing it to blue, what you could have done instead is change the link text color to something like a blue. You can change it to anything you want, but I'm going to leave this as the white color. And you can again change the text hover color, so when you roll over that text. Now, one thing you'll see here is this is all really bunched up. Now we've got a minimum width here for our canvas. So you might want to change it to something like 300. And you can see that what that's done is actually given this a little bit more space around this whole area. So that was really bunched up before. And what's that's doing is, I guess, giving it a fair bit of space. So another good option is to change that to a percentage. So you could say something like, say 80%, and we've got this opened up. Now you will only see this when you're in these mobile modes, so that's looking a lot better, and it won't go too wide. So if our canvas goes below, say 300 pixels, you'll still see this set up. So I'm going to change this to say about 70 and click save. I'll go outside of this. So going into our closed icon layout again, you can see here that we've already changed this here and selected the right close button that we wanted, but we can change the icon text, remove this out of here, and change the icon color to white. Click save. So I've taken the word close out of that, and you can see that's looking a lot better. So you can change, say, the position of where the icon is, but I like that in the top left. I'm happy with the padding and everything on that. But again, if you wanted to change some of this stuff, like the icon size, for example, the padding around it, this is where you do this for your close icon. So we can click that to close and open up. That's looking pretty good. So now that we've got the styling done for the menu, both for the desktop and the mobile menu, we still need to just tweak a few little things with going down to smaller and smaller sizes. So you can see here, let's have a quick look. If we go down below here, we're getting a few things still going on, and there's some tweaks that we can make that I think will really, really make this work quite well. And one of the things that we can do here is with this request a quote, if we get, say, the text here, and we select the words request a, we can put a span around that. So what that's doing there is putting a wrapper around those words, and then we can actually style those words a little differently. So with that request a quote in this size, we can have that displaying as we want it. When it gets smaller, what we might want to do is actually hide that. So we can go, so make sure you've got the span selected, go into advanced, into layout, and make sure we have this as display none. So you can see that's given us a lot more room, and that's looking a lot better in this size. Go back up. Yep, that looks great. Go down here. This is looking good. And then we probably need to just remove some of the padding around this quote, and we get down. See, we're losing a little bit of space here. And what I would do is two things. We've got some spacing on this image I want to get rid of. So I'll go to advanced and go into the size and spacing and make sure this padding is set to none. You can see that's already bumped that size up a little bit there. Make sure our margins here are set to none. And the last thing I would do is change some of the padding, on this link wrapper here. So there's a fair amount of spacing on this or marginal padding. So let's get rid of some of this and drop it down to, say, I don't know, something like 16. So we've still got a bit of padding there. That still looks pretty good. But what about on the sides? We can drop that down as well to, say, 15. And I'm going to change the font size a little bit as well here. So I'll go to the text itself and I might drop that down to 14. And we're seeing here, it's a lot smaller, a lot more compact. Now finally, we're almost finished this, so we can put our overlay back on. Let's go to all devices and select our nav, and we can put our overlay back on from never to always. And then let's hit save. We'll refresh the front end and just do a quick check and make sure everything is working as we want. So let's refresh this. And I can already see something that I'd like to change. This rollover is, I'd like that to be darker but also see-through. So I'm going to change that quickly in this navigation. I'm going to be a little bit fussy, but let's do this here. We'll go back to our styles of our Pro menu, on our desktop menu, on our hovers. I'm going to make this darker, but then also something that we can kind of see through a little bit. So let's save that, refresh this. And it's only subtle, but you can slightly see through this rollover here. Now let's just check the size as we go down here. And this looks good here. You can see that this is where we drop the social icons and go into the mobile mode. And the mobile mode is looking good here. And we should also see that this drops the word request down to just quote. So that's all working well. Just quickly test this mobile menu to make sure this was working. So we go to something like our work and it should load the next page, and our services. Okay. Now I've made a mistake here, and this is embarrassing, but this is good. Let's fix this. I know what I've done here. I'm going to go into menus. I'll open that up here. And if we look at these pages here that I've created for services, I've put this hash on the URL, and I really should have kept this as blank. So let's go and put that as blank, save menu, and same with price. I need to get rid of that hash there and save menu. And that is because when you put in a hash symbol, it's actually trying to open the page. So it's trying to actually go to a point in the page. So that's my mistake there. So let's test this out now and see if this is working a little bit better. So if we go to services, we go to price, you should see that these are opening up and we can get to those sub pages perfectly. So we can go to services and say go to digital marketing. All right, that's working better. I wasn't lying, was I? That was a big one. Now, I promise that is one of the hardest ones we get to look at, but it's really, really important that you get to have a good look at how the menu works in detail. So hopefully that's been beneficial and you have a good idea of how the menu works now. All right, let's wrap this menu one up. Click complete and I'll see you in the next lesson.